What's going on, Wolfpack Nation? We are back for part 2, y'all, here of our Virginia, discussion slash, NC State football in general. What is going on as we prepare for this upcoming game here at Louisville on Friday night? If you haven't already checked out part 1, make sure to do that, as we have huge news about another giveaway we're giving, where we're giving another 2 tickets and another parking pass for the Louisville game here this Friday night, 7 p.m. All you have to do is make sure that part 1 video gets at least 50 likes, so make sure to hit that like button, and then all you have to do is make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and we will pick one of our subscribers who comments in the part 1 video who their favorite all-time NC State football player is and why. We will pick that winner Thursday afternoon, so make sure to stay tuned Thursday afternoon and see if you won that amazing prize. But once again, y'all, we have Ryan Williams here once again from Inside Pack Sports here to kind of help us get through all of the mess here. So one of the things which I want to talk about here, we'll start with kind of a negative and move into the positive here. Where's Trent Penix? Has anybody seen Trent Penix? Like, this guy was supposedly going to be an all-ACC guy, as long as he can stay healthy. As far as I know, he's been healthy. I mean, I've seen him in almost every single game. But, I mean, he's only gotten 7 targets so far this season. He's really not been involved much at all in the offense. I mean, Ryan, I'm sure. I mean, I could tell from your face you've got some thoughts on it. But, I mean, kind of help me, man. Like, like instead of where's Waldo, it's where's Penix. So.
Yeah, we kind of mentioned in part 1, talking about the offense, that we thought that Penix was going to be kind of that gadget player for a 9. And I know going into the season, he had some health issues, so they kind of, worked him in slowly. So I don't know if it's a thing of where they're just trying to get him into a comfortable spot. But like you said, the biggest thing for him is just staying healthy.
Yeah.
I think it was against in the Notre Dame game, he got hit and looked shaky or banged up, or it may have been VMI. And I think the biggest thing for him is staying healthy. But to us, and we've talked about it, it's like he seems like one of those guys, and we've always thought this, he could be like Jalen Sanders, where he can just get your yards after catch. He can find a hole in the zone. He can work in the hashes. But we haven't seen much of that this year. So, again, I don't know if it's the offense not fully opening up, but here we are going into Game 5 against Louisville, and Louisville's a dynamic team, so you better start opening the offense up.
You got to get some points.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You're going to have to score.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, again, it's just kind of one of those things where, like, right now the focus of the instant offense is Brandon Armstrong and KC, and it's like, we just need to just get a couple other guys, but then make them focal points. And obviously with Trent Penix, he's been here long enough. He's played enough football. You're going to get him involved one way or another. Like, like Terrell Timmons, you have the option if you want, like maybe redshirt him or stuff like that. But with, Trent Penix, like, this is the year, like, this is last year, it's all out. And he's that good enough of a player that if he can be healthy, he can be effective. And so that's just kind of one of my things. And I'll be interested to see if maybe now that we're entering kind of that meat of the AC schedule, do we kind of get to the point where it's like, hey, listen, it's your last year, man. We're going to roll it and see how it goes, man, and get you involved, find ways to get you the ball and get you to help us get some points on the board, man,
Yeah. And, looking back in the Notre Dame game, they got their tight ends involved a lot. And how do they get them involved? Run and play action. And I feel like we run hardly any, like, we don't run play action. At least to me, it doesn't seem like we run any play action with a bootleg, naked bootleg, anything to get Armstrong out on the perimeter where he can use his arm or he can use his leg. But that is where Penix would be most effective, is running play action to the running back, and then he leaks out, showing as a blocker, then he's going to leak out. And he's done it this year. I think majority of his catches, or all of his catches, have come off of that, but we don't see it very much. And to me, I don't. Yep. Again, I don't know. Maybe we just need to open up the offense, but they need to make plays there because he's a playmaker.
But to that point, Ryan, like when you open up running those those boots and those play actions, that's kind of basic offense. I mean, that's nothing too crazy. So to your point, if you're having problems with your offensive line, if there really is a problem, which I don't really think there is, but if you're not trusting your offensive line to that point, get your quarterback out of the pocket, roll it,
right.
And then he's got options, right? And then at that point, he can dump it, he can run it, he can throw it out of bounds, whatever it may be. But I'm with you. I like the RPO offense. I know it's the new offense, but I mean, I'm kind of an old school dude. Like, I like a good pro style offense, and I think it works. But I just don't know what you can do at this point. 4 or 5 games into the season, where I don't know how much new stuff you're going to install. You know what I mean?
Right.
I just don't know if there's time for that kind of thing in the middle of a season.
Yeah, and that's the frustrating part is we said after the first game, this offense is vanilla. We're not going to show everything against UConn, and then we talked about it. We're like, hey, we're going into the 5th game here. It's like
You are who
you
you
don't
are.
yeah, you don't have practices now like you did back in fall camp, to instill this offense. It's almost like what you have now is what you have now. You'll have that one off play, but you're not going to have new sets that you're working in to try to get them to work. Because you're not going to get the timing down.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So now let's jump on over to the great stuff. And I know, Ryan, I'm sure you probably didn't watch our live stream this past week, but during that live stream when we were talking about Casey, I kind of made a word fumble where I basically asked the question is Casey a top 10 wide receiver of all time? And of course, Greg and Mick were like, what are you talking about? And what I obviously meant to say was, is the ceiling for Kevin Concepcion top 10 state wide receiver of all time? Yes. Yes. No, I mean, I'm telling you right now, I have not seen a true freshman as impressive as KC in a long time. And I'm talking even, it has to be before the O'Brien years since I've seen a true freshman this impressive. Owen Spencer kind of peaks, in my head, but he still wasn't to the level and I didn't even watch the early Phillip Rivers years, but Greg, I mean Jericho Cotchery maybe.
Is this another old joke again? Is this what we're doing?
No, I haven't watched a lot, So I mean, I don't know, but I mean,
yeah, I mean, when you're thinking all time greats, I mean, obviously Jericho jumps in. Torrey had a great first year. I think he was all freshman team, if memory serves me correctly.
All-American,
yeah. So. It's been a while. I mean, I'll definitely give you that. TJ Graham kind of comes to mind, but I just don't remember, I
think Brian Underwood had a good year.
Yeah, I remember Owen Spencer was very inconsistent his first year or so. He had a lot of drops, but then, as
showed a lot of flash.
Yeah, definitely a lot of flash, but the consistency wasn't there. So, KC, other than that one, play against Notre Dame, he's been very consistent.
Dude, and I'm telling you, I don't mean to interrupt, but I don't even think that was his problem, because if you remember, it was earlier, the previous quarter, he had a go route down the sideline that he dove for, and he fell and hurt his wrist, or landed on his wrist, came up gimpy. And then not long after that, he had that drop. And to me, maybe I'm just trying to cover up.
No, it's fair.
I think he's a great receiver.
Oh, I agree.
But I think he was hurt.
Yeah. No, and look, I mean, the greats even drop balls. So I mean, that's not even a dig at KC. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, at this point, you can't even say anything negative. He is your dude.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he is your dude. But with that being said, they better get some other people involved, because they're going to start doubling and playing to him. And so you're going to have to figure it out real quick.
Yeah.
No. I mean, 10 targets against Virginia, 6 catches, 116 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And I mean,
pretty
that
sure
first
he drove the
touchdown
bus
was
back to the airport too, if I'm not mistaken. So.
Probably. Yeah. No. I mean, he's the guy that scored. I mean,
he's your dude.
Basically, the 2 biggest touchdowns. Yeah. No, he's your dude right now. And it's kind of crazy. I mean, kind of give it to me, Ryan. I mean, so top 10, all time. I mean, kind of talk to me, what's so impressive about him? His route running seems elite, but kind of give it to me more from a specific perspective.
Yeah, I mean, he's for one, he's always open, and I feel like that's what we've really lost or have missed the last 2-3 years, or really since Jacoby Myers, where we have Emezi and Harmon just making miraculous catches, but we never had a guy that could get separation anytime he wanted. I'm convinced that he could get open on almost any single play, because his footwork is just so good. And he's just naturally gifted. And I remember talking to you at the Murphy, and we talked to KC, and I'm like, this dude's a baller. I was like, every time that I saw him in high school, he was unguardable. And all through fall camp, we heard the same thing, that no one on the defense could guard him. And now you're seeing it in real game. And it's if you were to have a camera that just focuses on him, a defender cannot stay with him. And he's playing in the slot, so it's even harder, because a nickel guy isn't a true cover guy, he's kind of a hybrid player. So it's a big mismatch. So the hope is that, to Greg's point, if the defense starts focusing on KC, then hopefully that'll open up some of your other guys on the outside to make plays.
Look, right
Absolutely.
now, I'm telling you right now. All right, I got an IPS deal for you. You need a KC Cam sponsored by Kentucky Fried Chicken. So you got the KC Cam sponsored by KC. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a no-brainer.
yeah, yeah,
No-brainer.
yeah. Dude, I'm telling you, he's good and
Yeah.
he's fun to watch.
I've definitely watched him just from the stands. Normally, like, when you're watching a football game, you want to watch the whole thing. But I've watched him on a few occasions, and I'm just like, geez, this guy's a freshman? Doesn't even seem fair. Doesn't even
And,
seem
and
fair.
and to me, he runs his routes with a purpose.
They're clean.
Yeah, and he runs every route he tries on, right?
Yeah,
Even if
right. That's a
he
good
might
point.
not be getting the ball or he's the first option, he runs his route, and I think that's another thing that we've missed
Yeah.
because uh, we were so used to progressive offense to where I'm looking at one, I'm looking at two, I'm looking at three. So the third and fourth guy, they're like, I'm not getting the ball, so I'm not running my routes. Uh, but under a nine's offense is supposed to be more like creative, where Armstrong can pick where he wants to go. And I feel like KC just every route he just makes it purpose to
He assumes
actually
that he's getting the ball. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Or
I
he's going to
love
do
it.
everything he can to get the ball, right? So,
right.
if he does his job, then he gives himself a chance.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and I remember, Ryan, another thing which we had discussed too, and I've said this before on live streams and maybe even episodes before, about how you were telling me about how you've been to, all the North Carolina, whatever high school, showcases or whatever. And like there was one that you went to where it was, KC and Noah Rogers and all the big wide
Mhm.
receivers there. And it's like, so I was talking about how like Noah Rogers, was this big get, ended up being a 5-star, wide receiver guy. I was like, losing him to Ohio State hurt. And you told me, you were like, I'm telling you right now, like KC was the guy that stood out to
Yeah,
me, even above Noah Rogers and everybody else. And I was like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah. Because I remember at the camps, is like you had Noah Rogers, like he was an athlete. I mean, he could go and get balls over high school guys, and they were all contested catches. But KC, like he catch the ball, and I'll be damned if there's anyone within 5-10 yards of him. Like you can do that at any level. If you're open, you can catch the ball at any level. Once you get
Right.
to college, there's going to be more athletes that can jump and contest with you. But if you're open, you're open. Like it is just up to you and your hands to catch the ball. And
well,
that's how I knew he was going to be special.
well, and kind of the equivalent that I can think of, which I know that a lot of Dire State fans, including myself, don't really like to mention the players from the school a whole lot, but I kind of see a lot of kind of Josh Downs in him
Yep,
a little bit. Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And as bad as that is to say, I mean, because we're State
It
fans,
happens. It
but
happens.
I mean, he's Downs is a great player. I mean, he's a great athlete, and like you said, I mean, it seemed like anytime a play broke down, um, he was open.
Drake
He
Mays,
knew
him
where to go.
afterward. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
He
yeah,
killed
and a
Josh Downs.
quarterback needs his safety net, right? And
Mhm.
so, when you can be that safety net, you're going to get a lot of opportunity. And
Yeah.
I think it goes back to what you said earlier is with his play count and that he's just out there and he's just getting, here's the crazy thing. He's gotten better each game.
Mhm.
So I don't even think we've even reached his ceiling yet.
Yeah.
So I'm excited and, we just got to keep feeding him and, figure out ways to get him the ball. So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flatlands Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need, offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flatlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flatlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out. So switching on over to the defensive side now, y'all. You know, it's kind of a two-trick pony for me when it comes to talking about the defense, because on one side I'm saying they only gave up 21 points, which I mean, like, most predictions had them, around 17, 18 points. Even I predicted 17 points, only
Yeah,
giving up
likewise.
21. So, I'm sitting here saying, and as much as they played, I mean, to me, they did their job, but I'm also saying that last drive, the amount of times we rushed 3, and especially that 2-point conversion, it's like, you kidding me? From the 17-yard line, and that was game? Like, oh,
You know
like
who's
that
going to
was,
hate that film room is going to be Shot Battle because I don't think
Really?
he had a great game. I think he knows he didn't have a great game besides that TFL he had. But if you watch that 2 point conversion, I think it was Sean Brown that was on the receiver contesting it. But if you watch the replay of it, Battle's right there. Like Battle could have made a play. That ball was in the air forever. And Battle just watched the receiver catch it. He didn't go up and contest the ball at all, and he was right there. And it's not a knock on shot, because he's a great player. And I just think he just had an off game. But the defense is just
Yeah.
giving up plays like that, that's very uncharacteristic. Even that insane, interception that Sean Brown had, you still look at it.
Dude.
That dude was
That was-
running behind 4 dudes
That was a
on
play.
our
Yeah.
defense. And one of them was Battle and one of them was White. And he was behind everyone.
Yeah.
So
I just want to say in our preview last week that I said Washington was going to be a problem, and he
was a problem.
was a problem the whole night.
Yep.
We just did not have an answer for him. So hey, look, we got to win on that, and the defense definitely knows that they had some stuff to clean up. I thought they did a nice job stopping the run for the most part all
Yep.
night. It was the quarterback. I mean, and the quarterback made plays. Look, they were creative in some of their stuff, and we just weren't. And we made, if it wasn't for the bonehead plays, that game may have been different. And when I say bonehead, the penalties. So
Yeah. And Ryan and I kind of mentioned it. And by the time this episode's come out, we'll already have the Monday live stream by then, and we should have Philip Danford on with us from IPS, who maybe can give us a little bit more insight. But I just can't understand it. I really want to ask as many people as I can to help me understand it, because I know I'm not a football guru, but maybe somebody who knows a little bit more football than me can help me. Why in God's name do we rush 3? Like, why? Like, we get burnt on it every single freaking time. Like,
Yeah.
it's we just don't have, like, as good as our defensive linemen are, they're not that stud guys that can get through double teams. Like, because you're basically
You don't
asking
have
that one
Corey
guy
Durden
who's not
anymore.
getting double teamed.
I mean that quarterback. There was times I saw him eating a hot dog back there, and he had. I'm sorry, this was Ryan's question, so go ahead, Ryan, and I'll throw
That's
my
okay.
2 cents.
So every
go ahead.
time, oh, I'm sorry. So I was going to say, so every time I see us rush 3, I cannot help but think about when State played Miami and De'Aaron King absolutely went off because we kept blitzing him. We would not drop back in coverage, and we kept blitzing him, and he kept eating us alive. And that's all I can think about. And, it was easy to see in the Virginia game when we rushed him and hurried him up and forced him out of the pocket. I think both interceptions we had were because of Noah Potter, but we had a backside blitz. The second one, Sean Brown was blitzed on the backside. Forced him out of the pocket, and it forced him into bad throws. So to me, it's like easy. Just freaking blitz the dude. But it's, I guess
I think on that 2-point conversion, you just played the odds. Like you got 17 yards. You play back in coverage. They're probably not going to make the completion. You want to keep everything in front of you type deal. And just it was just I think that was more of just a breakdown in the coverage in the secondary, like Ryan was saying.
But how do you have a breakdown in the secondary on a freaking 19-yard Hail Mary? Like, the defense is already condensed enough. It's how do you have that breakdown?
Yeah. Well, it kind of playing numbers a little bit here too. Like, if you're rushing 3, you have one guy statistically. I mean, just by the numbers, that's going to have 1-on-1 with the offensive lineman.
Yeah.
If you rush 4, you have 3 guys that will be 1-on-1. So, just to me, I'm saying just rush 4 every time. Like, just bring Payton Wilson or Caden or Devon Betty and your 3 defensive linemen and rush, and then bring everybody else back. That's still 7 guys back there protecting.
Well, and here's the thing. So if you bring 4, then you can actually stunt your D line, right? So if you're blitzing 3, your DNs with a running back or a quarterback that can run, they're going to the outside.
And you can do switches, like, you could do inside lineman switches.
Right. So, like, if I have Wilson, and probably in that situation, we would have had Fordham. If I have him lined up on the outside of the DN, I can easily tell DM to go outside, and I'll have Fordham stunt in, and then it could, you have more of a chance to confuse the offensive line. But if you're running a 3-man front, you already know that the center and guard are going to take your nose tackle, and then your 2 DNs are going to go out. And all he has to do is step up in the pocket. because even if the tackles take your DNs, you got 3 linemen for 1 dude in the middle, so you can easily step up in the pocket.
Yeah.
So I guess I got this question, and I know Coach Dorn definitely addressed it in his post game. How much do you put the injuries on the secondary for some of that breakdown? And I hate to use the excuse, is that a cop out?
Yeah, I think it definitely hurt. Maybe not as much so talent, but more so fatigue. Because Sean Brown's basically playing the whole game. Bishop Fitzgerald basically playing the whole game, and it comes down to the end. It's like it definitely affects. I mean, you have no safeties.
Yeah,
And
no, I
it's
agree.
like, yeah, I mean, you got Boykin and Harris who have always been on the ones. You're playing against the ones, and then you're bringing guys from second, third team. Hell, they're getting hurt, and it's just like, at what point? I mean, it comes down. I mean, it has to wear on the team.
Yeah. No, I just wanted it to be put out there because you hear fans talking about it, like, because again it goes back to that last play, like how they're able to on the 2-point conversion convert. Well, that's because to that point you've had guys out there playing 70, 80 snaps and they're just they're gassed and they're playing at from a heart perspective, if you will, just it's a want to at that point. But yeah, I look at the end of the day, and I've stayed off social media because I got nothing nice to say when people bash the team. But we're 3-1 at the end of the day, and I know it hasn't been pretty, but I always say this: at the end of the year, no one remembers that you won by 1 point. They just don't. They know that it was a W.
Yep. But I was thinking about it today. It's very interesting. A 1 point win is still a win. But I remember in the beginning of Dorn's era and a lot of just state football in general, State loses those games against Virginia. But lately, like the past 4 years, it's really seemed like a trend with Dorn where he wins those games now. Like it's almost like not like they're flukes anymore. Maybe it's luck because it's the ECU game, UNC game. But the reality is we've been winning those games. So it's starting to become a trend instead of an outlier.
Yeah, we're winning more than we've lost, right? I mean, because you'll for every 3 of those, we'll get a win and then we'll get a loss. Like where it was probably the other way around previously. I think that's a really good point. Yeah. Well, look, the one thing I will say, if you're an NC State fan and you're a gambler, just don't gamble when it comes to state games because they're gonna break your heart. But at the end of the day, it's a win, right? Yeah,
I don't even think they've covered this year. They have been great against the spread under Dorn, but they haven't even covered this year.
Yeah.
So. And just to kind of add to it too, like the thing which people were comparing this Virginia game to ECU. I'm like, no. ECU, we asked them to take it, and they just couldn't take advantage of it. Virginia, at the end of the day, the game ended because we made the plays that we needed to in order to win the game. Like at the end of the day, I can't remember who caught the kickoff return, but he had a great return and
Julian,
got it. It was great again.
Julian, so guys to the midfield. And, Brennan, made the smart plays in order to get us into position. And then at the end of the day, Braden Iverson, made the kick. And then, he could have, I think it was a 2-yarder or something like that.
33
maybe
to
more
win.
than that.
Yeah.
33 to win. And that ball could have made it from 50. It was a bomb. So,
I will say on that last drive, I think that was great execution by Nye. He basically was like, I'm not letting Armstrong throw this ball. He's going to be running the ball. And he ended up getting 20 yards just off of 2 runs. And then obviously the leap in helped, but I mean, I'm happy for Narvis.
Didn't we have one pass on that drive though? Didn't we have one pass, or was it all runs? I think
it was all runs.
Was it all runs? Okay.
I may be wrong, but I'm almost positive it was all runs. But I mean, I'm happy for Narvison because you're filling in shoes that are really hard to fill, and like Leighton said, that dude he freaking bombed it. Like he had no business kicking it as hard as he did, but he kicked it over the damn net. Like he killed it.
Yeah. So so at the end of the day, I'm sitting here saying, it's just like Greg's saying, we're 3-1, and I still think that there's a lot of pieces, and there's possibilities, especially too because of the fact that everybody's saying 5-7, 6-6 is on the table. I'm still sitting here saying Carter Finley is still one of the toughest places to play in the whole country, and still six of your last 8 games are No, is it 6 or is
Matt's
it 5?
hard, Leighton. It's okay. We
I
got.
know,
We,
we have
have,
8
we have
games
plenty of home
left.
games left.
And we only have Virginia Tech and Duke left. So
Yeah.
so we have 6 of our last 8 games at home. And your last 2 games are against Duke and Virginia Tech. And so obviously Duke, but at the end of the day, Louisville at home and underneath the lights. Clemson were playing at home. Miami were playing at home. UNC were playing at home. So, and I'm saying I've seen enough magic in Carter Finley, especially under Dorn, especially in the last few years, that I still fully think that 7-5 or 8-4 is easily within the realm of grasp, especially if our offense can start to figure it out and kind of collapse down to just a few playmaker stuff. So widespread. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah. After I kind of like calmed down, finally went to sleep, woke up the next day, I started looking at the schedule, like who we had left, because I'm like, all right, we're 3-1. Our one loss was to a team that was in the top 10 and should have beat Ohio State. I can't believe they lost that.
Heck of a game.
Yeah, and we were within arm's reach of beating them. Well, not beating them, but we were down by 7. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at the rest of our schedule, and to your point, Leighton, the majority of the games are home games. The tougher part of your home games or games in general are at home, where State has an advantage. But then in the back of my head, I'm thinking, out of all 4 of these games, we have given ourselves no margin of error to win these games. Like, we have done just enough to where we can bail the team out and win the game. I don't think that's going to fly, for the remainder of the season. You can't continue to make the mistakes you make and think you're going to win games. Like, the margin of error has been so small. UConn game, Notre Dame game, once, that got out of reach. And then against Virginia, the margin of error was so small. And I don't think that's going to fly against the thicker part of our conference.
Yep, agreed.
No.
I think if the offense can just
Friday in Louisville.
get a handle. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just think if the offense can just get a handle and sustain drives and just keep your defense off the field, because if you look at the UVA game, they had almost a 2-to-1 time possession ratio. And to your point earlier on that last drive, those guys are just gassed, especially when you're down to your second and third string guys. And so in order for you to be able to win games and not have that razor thin margin, the offense is going to have to put up points. And it starts this week against Louisville.
Yeah, and we've seen flashes of where, and I've said it at one of our games too, it's like the offense will look amazing. Like, they are just on time. They are just getting chunk play, score touchdown. You're like, this is what we thought we were going to get on. But then you'll have other series, like against Virginia, where it's just like, what are we doing? Run stuff, and then incomplete pass on third down. And, you're going to have to your point, Greg, sustain drives, because not only to keep the defense off the field, but it's also a mental thing for the defense. Because the defense is out there, like, busting their ass, or busting their butt, and the offense isn't doing anything. Then in the back of the defense's head, they're like, we're freaking killing ourselves out here, and we're not getting anything from it. And it's just like a mental game. Then you don't go as hard as you did in the beginning of the game.
So let me, this is an interesting stat that I just realized. Other than the VMI outlier, we're scoring 24 points a game. We scored 24 points a game last year. So is our offense any better under Robert Nye than it was Tim Beck? At the end of the day, 24 points is 24 points. I don't care. It doesn't matter how you get to 24. And then the other point would be, we just don't feel like the consistency, like you're saying, right? Like, one drive will look like the second coming of Phillip Rivers' offense with Norm Chow, and then next we look like, I don't know, the Bad News Bears play football. It just doesn't make sense. I don't know. I'm done with my thought, because I'm at a loss thinking, what do we have to do? Like, we just got to figure it out. We got to figure it out fast.
Well, and luckily enough, the beautiful thing here, Ryan and Greg, and for those listening, is that we don't have that task of being the ones that have to figure it out. At the end of the day, everything that we're talking about is just our thoughts. At the end of the day, only the coaching staff and the players in the Murphy Center, are the ones that, can actually make an effect on how the offense is going to develop and how the defense is going to figure out its big play issue that it has right now. But I'm still sitting here saying, listen, you still got Tony Gibson, who, he's a 7-figure salary guy, and well-deserved so. He's one of the best defensive coordinators in the country. You still got Payton Wilson. You still got a ton of, talented guys, and experienced guys, leaders on the defense side. And then offensive side, you have a lot of options, but at the end of the day, it's up to Anai and Doran. I think Doran really, I know he's a defensive minded guy, but I think Doran really needs to get his head in there and be like, listen, we're like, I know Doran made the comment being like, we need to kind of, not use so many plays and just kind of keep it down to focus to the plays that work. We also need to keep it down to the guys that are effective for us, and
right. I think what Doran was saying is like, hey, we're using all these plays, but all these plays have different personnel that we're using. And we've talked about that. And it's like, you need to condense that down. It's like, you don't have to keep running freaking different, a different play every single play for the whole game. Like, condense it down, find out what works, find the mismatch on defense, because there's always going to be that one player, that one area that is going to be the weak spot of a defense. Find it and exploit it. Just don't overthink.
Yep. Kiss. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
All right, Wolfpack Nation, for us, that'll do it here for this discussion. Not really even necessarily preview, but just more of, again, kind of discussion through in-state football through the 4 games so far, with 8 guaranteed games here left on the schedule here. Ryan, first of all, thank you so much for joining us, man. Always a pleasure. Yep. And make sure to go give him a follow. What's your tag, Ryan, on Instagram? I definitely got to get fans to go follow if you haven't already.
On Instagram, I can't even think of it on the top of my head, but I know on Twitter, X, it's R_Williams_IPS.
Okay, cool. So yeah, make sure y'all to go give him a follow. Make sure to go and check out Inside Pack Sports, as they have great content for sure. So, and then for us, make sure again, if you haven't already entered into that giveaway, which is again is free to enter, make sure to go to part 1, make sure we hit that 50 like threshold, and then make sure again you're subscribed to the channel, and then comment down in that part 1 video your favorite NC State player of all time and why, and we will pick that winner again Thursday afternoon. So make sure to stay tuned for that, and make sure to give us a follow, Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And thank you all so much for the support, and we will see y'all soon. And go Pack, y'all.
Let's go beat Louisville.